Here is my Dexter Season 8, Episode 7 recap. This episode is entitled Dress Code. All right, at the end of last episode, we had Hannah, who had drugged both Deborah and Dexter. And Dexter wakes up in this episode in a field on the other side of town. And Deborah wakes up in her house, and she has to go pick up Dexter. And they talk about Hannah being back. Dexter says he'll take care of her, and Deborah, throughout the episode, starts taking measures to take things into her own hands. She still feels really upset about what had happened when Dexter was dealing with Hannah in the past, and wants Hannah to just disappear, whatever it takes. So she actually takes steps in this episode to track Dexter to see if he's seeing Hannah. At one point, he does see Hannah. He meets with her basically at her old, the greenhouse that she used to take, where she used to take care of, where she would have her plants and everything. And he goes there to meet with her. And Dexter finds out that she is actually married to this guy and actually ends up having to use this boy, Zach, to get into this nightclub to find out what Hannah's doing, because Dexter immediately finds her after he's found in the field. He does some research and found out where she's at, and he goes to spy on her and finds out she's at this marina, and she's with some guy, and he looks very well off, and they go off into this nightclub. There's actually a lot that happened in this episode. So they go off into the nightclub, and that's when Dexter tries to get in. He can't get in because he's not dressed properly. So he uses this boy, Zach, the one that Vogel wants to train, to get in because his father is rich, and they're able to use his credentials to get in. He confronts Hannah. Hannah says, you're not going to like, I'm married. You need to go, leave. You're not going to like it if he comes in and he sees us together. So the guy basically comes in, her husband, and kind of leaves with her, and Dexter is just left there kind of alone. And her husband admits that she has said everything, and he knows that Dexter is the one who put her in prison and did all this bad stuff. She's been honest with her husband, which kind of shocks Dexter. Deborah does a GPS tracking to find out where Dexter is going, and Dexter does meet her at this greenhouse. And at the greenhouse, she says, he's very controlling. Originally, I came to you because that's where Dexter wanted to hunt her down to find out why she's there. And she says, I came to you because I wanted you to kill him. He's very controlling. He won't let me live my life. I've only ever felt normal around you. You were always the one I wanted to be with. We're going to find out what happens with that because this does blow up at the end of the episode. At the same time, we have the little story with Masuka and his daughter. Well, his daughter and him do make up. She says, look, I overreacted. I do want you in my life. He finds out where she's working and decides to surprise her at work and finds out it's a topless sports bar. So his daughter is topless in there. And he wants her to have a better life. So he offers her later in that episode a job to be his assistant there at the crime lab, which she doesn't want to take because she's making a lot more money being topless. And so we're going to see where that leads in future episodes, but they kind of did mend their relationship a little bit after what happened in the previous episode. We also have this girl, Cassie, who lives just a little bit down from where Dexter lives, and they've been kind of flirting off and on for the last couple of episodes. And in this episode, you've got Zach, who tries to visit Dexter a couple of times at his home, and Dexter says, you can't ever come here. We can't ever be seen together. If I'm going to train you, we're going to have to do this off-site. You can't come here. Well, he was supposed to meet with him, and he doesn't show up, so Zach goes to Dexter's house that night, and Dexter's not there, and Zach kind of gets set off by this. He gets really upset, and as he's leaving, Cassie comes out of her apartment and says, is everything okay? Can I leave Dexter a message? And he's really upset. Well, she ends up dead at the very end of the episode. You find out that Zach killed her because he was upset that Dexter couldn't be there, and he had this primal rage. So she's dead, and now Dexter's wondering if this was even a good idea to take this boy on in the first place. And it's really kind of sad that she's dead. Another guy she was dating showed up when they were examining the crime scene, and he was very shaken up by this whole thing. So the last thing we have to talk about is we've got Dexter and Hannah. There's a scene where her husband does indicate that he knows where Hannah was the day before at the greenhouse and gets really upset and starts to manhandle her there on the boat and says, you and I are leaving tonight, and I'm going to keep you close to me at all times, and you will never leave this boat. Dexter does decide to go to find out if she's okay, does sneak himself on the boat, and goes in there and finds out that Hannah actually killed him herself because she wouldn't let him go, and she killed him in a moment of passion, basically. Dexter and her then get rid of the body. They're out in the parking lot later, and this is why Dexter couldn't meet with Zach. Kind of a chain of, the chain of events there. And you've got Dexter sitting there talking with Hannah, and Deborah's off to the side, kind of very angry. You can see she has this anger on her face towards Hannah. And that's kind of where this episode ends, is you don't see what Deborah's going to do. She's just sitting there looking at Hannah as Dexter drives off to go to that crime scene in his apartment complex. And that's kind of where the episode ends. So we've got a lot of little things going on here. We still have Zach to deal with. We've got Hannah to deal with. We've got whatever's going on with Deborah and her relationship with her boss. In this episode, he kind of puts her, her boss puts her in her place and says, I've done everything for you, given you a job, been really good to you, and you're just not very nice back. And makes her think twice about the way she's treating him. So there's a little bit going on with them. We're going to see where that leads in these final 5 episodes of the series up until this point, as we get ready for Dexter Season 9, which they did release a new trailer a couple weeks ago, and it looks pretty phenomenal. So I'm excited for that to start on November 7th. All right, look for these other 5 episodes to go up pretty quickly, and we'll see you guys on the next recap.